In today's video, we're going to show you how to use your cellular trail cameras to double as security cameras to monitor your home, your cabin, or really any building. There's going to be some overarching details here that are going to apply across every scenario, and the first one of those is going to be camera location. To showcase this a little better, let's go take a look at how we use cellular cameras as security cameras for our office. So as you can see, we're outside here at the office, and we actually have had a little bit of theft and break-ins in the area, in the neighborhood of the office. So we wanted to get ahead of that curve and set some cameras up ourselves. And with that, I want to talk to you about your camera location for using your cellular cameras as security cameras. You don't want these cameras to be in the face of the intruder. You don't want that person to know that their picture is being taken. With the camera being out of the face of the intruder, you also want to make sure you're using a black flash camera. That way when the camera goes off, if it's at night, that camera will not flash and alert them that their picture is being taken. So keeping the security application in mind, let's run through the settings that we prefer on the Exodus render for security purposes. So you're always going to want to have your cameras in real-time uploads. That way you're getting that information instantaneously. Timeliness is key when running these cameras for security purposes. You're going to want to have that camera flash range on high, and you're going to want to have your trigger sensitivity on high. That way you don't miss anything within the detection range of that camera. We prefer video mode for security purposes. You're going to get less videos as you would if you're using it in the woods for a trail camera purpose. The data costs aren't going to be as high, but if you want to run photo mode, that's fine too. When you run photo mode with the Exodus render, one thing you can do is keep that on-demand feature on, and when you get that photo that an intruder or someone is entering or breaking into the building, you can real quickly request a longer video. That way you can get a better ID of who is actually breaking in. You get a better look. You may be able to see what they took. So keep your camera in real-time uploads, high flash range, high trigger sensitivity. So with that, you have the option to hang that camera higher. But what you're doing with an elevated set is you limit the detection range of the camera so they don't have to be elevated. You just want them to be out of the face of the intruder so they aren't aware that their picture is being taken. So as you can see over my shoulder here, we have an Exodus render set up on the corner of this post, looking at this door behind me, and it's looking at our door here that we come in. And then it also looks over our parking area. So that there's Lucas there with the camera, and that's where we park. And we have a dumpster set up over here that people have been using that aren't supposed to be using it. And it will help us keep an eye on both doors, both back doors that people can enter from. As we walk over here to the door that we come in, this camera does a good job of monitoring it. However, it doesn't do a great job of giving us a usable photo that we can turn into the authorities to identify the intruder. So what we did is we set up another camera on the inside that will help us capture that person coming in or out of the door. Now, I know not everyone has two cameras, but if you are going to use these in a security purpose, this is how we did it. So here we are in the storage area of our building, and we have a secondary camera set up to monitor this door here. If someone breaks in outside, they're gonna come in this door to get to where all of our inventory and stuff is taken. So we want to be able to get a picture of someone entering and, even more importantly, exiting. So keeping in mind, we want to get facial features. We wanna know who. You gotta keep in mind distance with your camera locations. As I mentioned out there, that camera was a little bit too far away from the door to get facial recognition. So in here, we came in and we have a camera set up, and as you can see behind me, there's stuff everywhere, and there's no really conspicuous looking camera sets. And we don't want to put these cameras in the face of the people entering or exiting. So we hid this camera in plain sight because we don't want it to look conspicuous. So here we have our Exodus render set up, and it's just sitting on top of this roll-off dumpster. And as you can see on top of it, there's just kind of stuff everywhere. We got some Real World Wildlife seed, we have a tent, and this camera doesn't stick out to the intruder. So when they're walking out of this door, we actually get some really good photos of them entering and exiting that door with whatever they have in their hands. Keeping in mind that camera out there, we have it set up optimally with perpendicular movement. And this camera, we are monitoring this doorway and it's parallel, so we have the best of both worlds. We get perpendicular movement out there, and we have parallel movement in here, so we will get those close-up photos to be able to recognize the face of who is intruding. One important thing to keep in mind when monitoring manways indoors, you want to be able to control the light. You want to avoid harsh lighting scenarios, because your photo quality is going to suffer in harsh lighting scenarios. As you can see right now, I'm pretty well lit because we're shooting this video, but as you can see now, the natural light in here is pretty darn even, so we're not gonna get any harsh lighting sources. There's not one main light source that's gonna blow everything out. This camera is actually now in the shadows, and it's gonna be super controlled, and your camera is going to work to the best of its abilities. One quick tip: if you are around a building, you're obviously gonna have access to AC power or plugging the camera into an outlet. And if you get a cheap AC/DC adapter, like $6 or $7 on Amazon, you can keep constant power to that camera and save a bunch of money on batteries. So that'll relieve the worry that that camera is gonna die at any point. Another quick tip with using these cameras indoors, especially in places that you're gonna be throughout the day, you can set the operating hours on this camera to only operate from the times that you're not going to be there or the times that you specifically want to monitor. So for example, if you go to bed at 8 p.m. and you're monitoring your house, you can set the camera to only work from 8 p.m. until the time that you wake up. Because if you're there, you're obviously monitoring your house yourself, and you want the camera to do the work when you're not there. So save on data costs and save on having to sort through a bunch of photos. You can just set your operating hours to work during the specific times that you want the camera to work.